Hello everyone, welcome to mathematics tutorial. So today we will discuss on how to solve for rational inequality. So there are rules in solving rational inequality. Number one, write the inequality with a single rational expression on the left side or left hand side of the inequality and 0 on the right hand side of the inequality. So based on the given example, x plus 2 over x minus 3 less than or equal to 0. So step 1, it's already done because the left or the right hand side of the equation that is equal to 0. So automatically step 1 done na ito kasi yung right side is already 0. Next, determine the meaningful numbers by setting the numerator and denominator equal to 0. So how to find the meaningful numbers? So meaningful numbers. That is numerator that is x plus 2 equals 0, denominator that is x minus 3 equal to 0. So pag isetting natin yan, the result is x equals negative 2 and dito x equals positive 3. So ito na yung meaningful numbers natin, negative 2 and positive 3. Next, use the meaningful numbers to separate the number line into intervals. So use the meaningful numbers to separate number line. But before that, i-test natin muna ito. Substitute natin yung negative 2 sa given equation. So when x is equals negative 2, so x plus 2 over x minus 3 less than or equal to 0. Substitute natin ito. So that is negative 2 plus 2 over x minus 3 less than or equal to 0. So that is 0 over x minus, or that is negative 2. So that is negative 5 less than or equal to 0. So 0 divide negative 5, that is 0 less than 0. So true or false? Okay, that is true. So negative 2 is part of the solution. How about positive 3? So that is 3 plus 2 over 3 minus 3 less than or equal to 0. So that is 5 over 0 less than or equal to 0. So that is undefined kasi 0 yung denominator niya. That is undefined. Next, tandaan, negative 2 is part of the solution and positive 3 is not part of the solution kasi undefined yung result. Next, use or make a number line using the meaningful numbers. Ano ba yung meaningful numbers natin? Negative 2 and positive 3. So ito yung interval A, interval B, and interval C. So next, step number 3, test it for the meaningful numbers if they make the inequality true or false. If true, then they are part of the solution. If false, they are not part of the solution. Next, get the values in each interval and substitute to the given inequality. So get any numbers here, interval A, interval B, interval C, and test if the answer is true or false. For example, in interval A, any numbers belong to interval A, negative 3, so pababa to hang to until negative infinite numbers. So for example, sunod ng negative 2 dito, that is negative 3. So when x equals negative 3, substitute natin yan sa given inequality. So we have negative 3 plus 2 over negative 3 minus 3 less than or equal to 0. Next, negative 1 over negative 6 less than or equal to 0. Okay, that is false. False. Kasi i-divide natin ito, magiging positive. Okay, that is false. So interval A is false. How about interval B? Any numbers belong to interval B. That is 1, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. So any numbers, so that is interval B. Okay, halimbawa x is 1. So 1 plus 2 over 1 minus 3 less than or equal to 0. So 3 over negative 2 less than or equal to 0. Okay, so negative 3 over that the answer is negative less than 0. So that is true, kasi maliit talaga yung negative numbers kaysa sa 0. Okay, so interval C, any numbers from positive 3 to the infinite numbers. So that is 4, 5, 6, 7 until positive infinite numbers. So that is for example, when x is 4, so 4 plus 2 over 4 minus 3 less than or equal to 0. So that is 6 over 1 less than or equal to 0. So that is false. Okay, tingnan natin saan natin makita yung solusyon. Dito lang sa interval B. Ito lang yung part ng solusyon. Next, how to write the solution. Version ko na ito ha. How to write the final answer. Okay, so the final answer, you need to express the answer in interval notation. So interval notation, based tayo sa meaningful numbers. So the final answer in interval notation is bracket negative 2 comma and positive 3 parenthesis. Meaning ito yung solusyon natin. Meaning gamit tayo ng bracket pag ang sunod number is part of this solution. So since negative 2 is part of the solution, so we will use bracket and parenthesis if they are not part of this solution, but still it is a meaningful numbers. Nakuha na. Pag hindi solution yung meaningful numbers, we will use this one, parenthesis. But ang negative 2 is part of the solution, we will use positive or bracket. Okay, so ito na yung final answer. Negative 2 and positive 3. So meaning the solution is in between negative 2 to positive 3. How to solve for rational inequality. So in solving rational inequality, there are 5 rules in order to solve for the given inequality. Number 1, write the inequality with a single rational expression on the left hand side of the inequality and 0 on the right hand side of the inequality. So dapat dito in the left side of the inequality composed of rational expression, single rational expression, and in the right side of this inequality dapat 0. So based on the given example, it's already done because the left side of this inequality is rational expression and the right side of this inequality is 0. So proceed to step number 2. Step number 2, you need to get the meaningful numbers, okay, by setting the numerator and denominator equal to 0. Ano ba yung meaningful numbers? Meaningful numbers are numbers that make the numerator and denominator equal to 0. So, hanapin natin yung meaningful numbers based on the given inequality. So, given inequality is x plus 5. Equate natin sa 0 yung numerator equal to 0. So, x equals negative 5. Ito yung first meaningful numbers, that is numerator. Then, ang denominator, that is x minus 2 equals 0. Then, x equals positive 2. So, the two meaningful numbers are negative 5 and positive 2. It makes the numerator equal to 0, and ang positive 2, it makes the denominator equal to 0. Step next, you need to then test the meaningful numbers if the inequality makes the inequality true or false. So, i-test natin yung meaningful numbers sa given inequality if they make the inequality true or false. So, i-substitute natin yung value ng x dito sa given inequality. So, negative 5 plus 5 over negative 5 minus 2 greater than or equal to 0. So, this one, automatically 0 over negative 7 less than or greater than or equal to 0. So, 0 divided 7, that is 0 greater than or equal to 0. So, it makes the inequality true. So, tandaan, negative 5 is part of the solution. How about negative 2 or positive 2 rather? So, positive 2 plus 5 over positive 2 minus 2 greater than or equal to 0. So, that is 7 over 0 greater than or equal to 0. So, that is undefined. Kasi, yung denominator natin is 0. So, automatically that is undefined. So, that is false. Next natin, step number 3, separate the number line into intervals using the number found in step number 2. So, use or you will make a number line using the meaningful numbers. So, number line, so ano yung number line natin or meaningful numbers? So, that is negative 5. Ano yung negative numbers? Then, positive 2. We will make this one is interval A, interval B, and interval C. Next, get test value for interval A, B, and C. So, maghanap tayo ng number na belong sa interval A, then i-test natin sa given inequality. So, any number belong to interval A. So, since negative 5 is part of the solution, so, ang baba niyan is negative 6. So, interval A, when x is negative 6, test natin. Substitute natin yan sa given inequality. So, negative 6 plus 5 over negative 6 minus 2 greater than or equal to 0. So, this is negative 1 over negative 8 is greater than or equal to 0. So, that is magiging positive ito. 1 over 8 greater than or equal to 0. So, 1 over 8 is greater than or equal to 0. True or false? Okay, that is true. Kasi mas malaki talaga yung 1 over 8 or positive numbers kaysa 0. So, interval A is part of the solution. So, ito, solution na ito. Interval A. How about interval B? Ang interval B, any numbers belong to interval B. So that is negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. So negative 4 to positive 1. So when x is equals to 1, tingnan natin. Substitute this to the given inequality. So magiging 1 plus 5 over 1 minus 2 greater than or equal to 0. So 6 over negative 1 greater than or equal to 0. So negative 6 greater than or equal to 0. So negative 6 is greater than or equal to 0. True or false? Okay, that is false. Why? Because malaki yung 0 kaysa any negative numbers. Malaki pa yung 0 kaysa sa any negative numbers. Lahat ng negative numbers, mas malaki pa yung 0. Okay, next. Interval C na tayo. Interval C. Version natin to. Hindi may erase. Okay, interval C. Any numbers belong to interval C. So from negative 3, 4 until positive infinite numbers. So we will use x equals 3. So substitute that to the given inequality. So 3 plus 5 over 3 minus 2 greater than or equal to 0. So 8 over 1 greater than or equal to 0. So that is 8 greater than or equal to 0. So 8 is greater than or equal to 0. Yes or no? Or true or false? So that is true. So meaning yung solution natin makita natin sa interval A and interval C. So step number 5, answer in interval notation. So ano yung final answer natin? So the final answer is, since ang solution natin is makita sa interval A, negative 5 until negative infinite numbers. So ang solution natin is this one. From negative infinite numbers. Lahat yan that is part of the solution to negative 5. That is interval A. We will use bracket kasi yung negative 5 is included sa solution. So yung interval is part of the solution from negative 5 to negative infinite numbers. Then union. Next, union, since that ang solution natin makita natin sa interval A and interval C. So that is from positive 2 to positive infinite numbers. So tingnan natin, bakit sir yung negative 5 bracket yung nakalagay? Yes, bracket kasi negative 5 is included sa solution. Lagyan lang natin ng bracket yung meaningful numbers. Tingnan natin yung positive 2. Parenthesis lang ang nilagay kasi positive 2 is not included of the solution, but still it is a meaningful numbers. Okay, so ang solution natin makita natin from negative infinite to negative 5, negative infinite numbers to negative 5, union negative 2 to positive infinite numbers. So included yung negative 5 part solution. This one positive 2 is not included or excluded ito, but still it is a meaningful numbers. Ang lagyan lang natin ng bracket is ang meaningful numbers na part of the solution, kagaya ng negative 5 kasi part siya ng solution. It makes the inequality true. Okay, so ito na yung final answer in interval notation. Thank you.